if genetics are the pistol, lifestyle are the trigger. Your lifestyle will override your genetic.
Brain fog, word loss, mood swings, these are all often the very first signs of hormonal change. But no one ever told us that they start in the brain, not in the body. And Imen Clark is changing that story. We're joined by Imen Clark, founder of Prickly Pear Health, to decode what our voices are actually trying to tell us. Thanks for tuning in to Redefine Her today. Let's get started. In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month and Menopause Awareness Month and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we are bringing you a conversation that challenges how we think about caring for our minds, especially when it comes to midlife for women. Here's a fact that stopped me in my tracks when I was researching today's guest. Nearly 70% of Alzheimer's diagnoses are in women. That's pretty surprising. My guest today is Imen Maaroufi Clark, founder and CEO of Prickly Pear Health. Prickly Pear Health is a voice-first AI-powered companion that listens not just to what you are saying, but how you say it. Through voice and wearable data, Prickly Pear is helping women build emotional clarity, cognitive resilience, and joyful living through hormonal changes, and ultimately to change the trajectory of brain health for generations to come. Imen is pioneering an entirely new paradigm in women's health, and so today we are diving deep. Welcome to Redefine Her.
Thank you so much, Brenda, for having us and for having the focus on this session, the women's brain health, in such an important time. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Give me your background and how that led you to Prickly Pear.
I am born and raised in Tunisia, North Africa. For those who don't know where that is, that's the northern point in the African continent, and yet too close to Europe. It's like 30 minutes flight to Rome. So that makes me a person who had grown in a very diverse place. I speak 5 languages. I look like so many different and diverse things, but I think that Tunisians are like that because of culturally all the civilizations that passed by and shaped us as humans. I speak Arabic. We are a French colony, so of course I'm bilingual French. English is my 3rd language. So excuse any when I'm looking for the words.
I have no excuses. I speak 1 language, and America has done a disservice to our children because we only speak English for the most part. So I honor that in you. That's amazing.
Thank you. I moved to the US 9 years ago. That was for grad school. My first stop was Boston. But before that, also, I lived in Asia. I worked in Europe and North Africa, as I mentioned, before coming here. So when I was in Boston, I met my first co-founder. He went to Berklee College of Music, and I come from a business background, a product background, actually like a business school. So I was like a marketer. I've always been creative, but also very good with numbers. And that was always something that set me apart as a young person since I was young, that like I had left and right brain balance. I'm very good with numbers. I'm very good with language and patterns, but also I play music, I dance, I sing, I paint, and that became what I do. So from marketing, we moved to product marketing, and then the tech world stole me. I highly believe that girls make the best product people because of the empathy that they carry and how they think about the world and their attention to details. And not to say that guys are bad, but there are so many things in women that make them phenomenal product managers, product marketing managers, CTOs, etc. So we definitely champion women who are in STEM. From there, what I said, I met my first co-founder. He studied jazz composition and film scoring. And together we were able to patent and commercialize a motion capture software. So that's a different type of AI, computer vision AI, that turns any tablet or computer to a gamified music experience that was used with people with neurodegenerative conditions like dementia or Parkinson's, etc., who usually are prescribed physical activity routine after the diagnosis to see a PT, because we all know that exercise slows down the progression of those diseases. Although the same problem with humans always is motivation. So it was like, how can we turn those piece of papers that have those boring exercises to something fun for those seniors to do it, and at the same time be proactive about collecting data for their neurologists so we understand risk of falls, range of motion, adherence to medication, change in behavior when we add medication as well, because it's linked to mental health and some people in seasonal depression, etc. So all that work was extremely important. But for me, that's really when it hit hard, because going and testing those technologies in senior living facilities and memory care and independent living, I used to see that so many women would volunteer for those tests. And I thought that was just a character or something that women wanted to give back or something like that. I also thought so many other people who think that women live longer, so that's why they are there. And then I went back to the research because it was not a coincidence. And I found out that 70% of the Alzheimer population are women. And again, it's not because they live longer. There are so many hormonal patterns, the drop of estrogen during midlife, how those actually disrupt the quality of life and elevate other health risks and everything that needs to be done in between. I found out that women are twice as likely to be diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I found out that women were 3 to 4 more times likely to experience migraines. And all of that was a screaming patterns of, we definitely are not solving for women's biology, and that is costing us lives and dollars, and that something needed to be done. So that's when Prickly Pear was born, to be able to champion women's brain health and to be able to act from a prevention lens on how to reduce those cases.
Amazing. Estrogen plays this critical part, and so many women, probably so many who are listening, have certainly felt that slow drift, brain fog and forgetfulness, mood changes. And like you said, so many are just offering to volunteer, but it's, I think, probably because they know something is wrong, but no physician has ever tapped into it. And what was it, 1993, when women started to be involved in research studies? Hardly any time has passed, but obviously all of this is starting in the brain. So tell me more about your idea behind Prickly Pear and what really inspired creating this to help to delay cognitive degeneration.
So that's when I started thinking, oh, okay, we have to do for something for women's brain health. So think about it like this. We needed to do something before the symptoms are really prevalent, that the diagnosis is already confirmed. Because for these women, like the Alzheimer, dementia, all of that, it takes a couple of decades until it's undeniable. But there is so much that could be done before that. So when we started reading about prevention perspective and lowering risks, we know that there are 6 pillars of brain health that actually, when done right, they're able to prevent that. And those are exercise, nutrition, sleep, and the ability to allow the body and the brain to restore, stress management, social activity, and mental stimulation. So then it became a question of, at what age do we interfere? And when it's a business, it's really important to be able to target people who share common things, either demographical or socioeconomic or whatever that is, because in business and in product language, we say if a product is meant to be for everyone, it's for no one, because we know
Yeah.
people are different and what works for someone does not work for the other person. So to your point, we found out that women between 30 and 50 are the ones who are reporting a lot of brain fog, a lot of mental fatigue, a lot of heightened depression and anxiety. And that's when we needed to do something about it, because they are the ones who are experiencing it and they're asking themselves, Am I getting old? Is this an early onset of something bigger, or is this hormonal? And most of women at that time did not know that it was hormonal. But then also you
Right.
can think about it. If you are between 30s and 50s, you are already to see in your parents' age. And if you have a family member who has dementia, most people are so worried about the genetic disposition, because there are like the ApoE3 and 4 that actually, when you do genetic testing and you find them, you know that you have high chances of developing those. But here, what I said, high chances, but it's not for sure. There is actually a saying also that we say, if genetics are the pistol, lifestyle are the trigger. So actually, your lifestyle will override your genetics. So we knew that there was something to be done about precision lifestyle. If we know how you live, what's your weight, how do you manage stress, how is stress partaken in your life, where are you in your cycles, we could probably tell you how many minutes should you exercise, what should you eat, how many phone calls that you should make, etc. And that's when we started with women who needed this the most because they are experiencing it, and that put us in perimenopause, and then it cascaded as a result because we know the drop of estrogen and the irregularity of progesterone and the impact on cortisol and all of that during that time that actually needs help, aside from the fact that women need to change their nutrition and increase their protein intake. And maybe when they were younger, they did a lot of endurance and running and yoga, but then there's the emphasis on resistance, etc. That was like a group of women that we still have time to act on how to make them healthier, and we still had time. And during all this journey, while I was wondering how do women age, how do men age, and understanding that from my own story and watching both my parents who are on the same age. And we always thought my dad had better genetics because he was in his 60s playing soccer, coming home with trophies. Everything was perfect, while my mom had high blood pressure, arthritis, lots of bone problems, definitely mood swings, that we thought that she was under a lot of stress, but now it makes sense. And while trying to understand that part, I finally understood that actually my mother got me when she was 40. I'm the last
Yeah.
child. I have a brother and a sister. And giving birth to me was a very complicated thing. I had the umbilical cord stuck around my neck, made her C-section very complicated. She had a hemorrhage during that, and to be able to save her life, they had to do a total hysterectomy to remove her organs. So those are things people don't talk about more than 30 years ago, that a woman in her 40s wakes up postpartum, horrible surgery, and then induced menopause immediately.
And a baby on
And a
top of that.
baby. And a third baby, and she needs to go back to work and demanding life. And the same year, she also loses her mother. So that's also a lot of grief. And I think that none of these things were discussed as they should
No,
be
definitely
back
not.
then. And we could only imagine her experience. Or for me, I tried my best to give myself grace. It was not my fault, but who else other than me that would be motivated to solve this? And so many women, they look at me and they're like, you're too young to be solving for this. And I'm like, I'm happy you asked, because I think there is a much deeper personal story than is just about me, but about the woman who brought me to life, that she went through things that we need today to address and not have other women go through.
I think that is, in a sense, generational trauma. Like that's imprinted on you as well. And that's hugely impactful to your life to also lose your mother young. She was probably still fairly young when you did lose her, but you carry this imprint on you and on your soul and who you are. And I so appreciate how much menopause is now being discussed in the marketplace. But yes, our parents, they did not have that advantage. They didn't really even know that estrogen, progesterone, our hormones really play a neuroprotective role in our physical and certainly our mental and brain health. CH2 Solutions believes technology should do more than just keep up. It should move business forward. Through nearshore solutions, CH2 delivers the technology and talent that simplify complexity, fuel growth, and unlock new opportunities. CH2 Solutions is proud to sponsor RedefineHER, a community built on bold ideas and fearless leadership. CH2 Solutions doesn't just deliver technology. CH2 delivers possibilities, redefining the future together. So, how did that shift how you feel about perimenopause and midlife health? Again, your mom was just 40 when she had you and immediately went into induced menopause early. Where did this inspire Prickly Pear? And tell us a little bit more about Prickly Pear.
As a little girl, I did not know what I did not know. Of course, I wouldn't understand what is a hysterectomy. It's not something that we talk about. But I always have thought that because my mom had me when she's 40, she's not in her 20s, she's not in her 30s, she's not getting her period. But that was until I was a teenager, start having that conversation and being able to understand what that meant. And then I understood, okay, it was after giving birth to me that happened. A couple of years later, like way later, when I was an adult in my 20s, I lost my mom. And I think going through that grief and therapy, and this comes back to the importance of therapy and mental health and processing feelings and emotion for us as women and as we grow, because it's not about faking it. It's not about hiding it. There is actually a lot of research about PTSD and treated anxiety. Then when we don't do the right work for that, they make the brain very vulnerable to things like dementia as we age. So going through that, I was always fascinated with how do women age and how do men age and what are the factors aside from childbearing that actually affect that. Because while not all women will have kids, all women will go through menopause. So for me, it was two things. We needed to understand women at an unprecedented level, and we needed to be able to provide action because there was always a lot of wait time until you go to the doctor, until you collect the pieces, until you have the evidence to advocate for yourself so you are not dismissed. There was a lot of that. So we were like, if we are going to be able to collect data at an unprecedented level, then the communication needs to be natural, smooth, and meaningful. And that's why Prickly Pear is based on speech and voice tech. So it's an AI companion that you talk to daily. It anchors you on specific intentions and reflections throughout the day. It uses different techniques from motivational interviewing that therapists use, cognitive behavioral therapy, standards on how we ask the questions. And you could note when you go to therapy, usually the therapist does not tell you what to do. They try to understand what are your motivations, what are you trying to head towards, what are your goals, what's meaningful to you. And that is the whole philosophy of Prickly Pear and how it tries to understand what are you trying to make out of your life? What are your lifestyle habits? What is a type of exercise that you really like? Because this is not a running app or a yoga app or a meditation app. It's whatever you love to do. We would encourage you to do it more. Can you define for us what is a good meal that you had? So we need to understand, is it a burger that you define as a good meal, or is this like vegetables and grains? Are you vegetarian? Are you not? What kind of stress are you going through? Tell us more about a situation where you handled stress well. How do you like to take care of yourself in this situation? And then we also ask, where are you in your cycle? Do you have a regular cycle? Is there irregularity? Are you on contraceptive? Are you already on menopause? And then we ask about different changes. And from there, we are able to build a profile, a health profile for the user and understand and evaluate their health patterns. And then every day they come in, they log in their intentions. They're asked 3 brief questions about what do they want to make out of that day? What are small intentions of joy, of things that they want to do for themselves? How would they notice specific emotions before it escalates, etc.? And then from there, we are able first from the speech detect different patterns on mood and energy and voice carries so many biomarkers that even the same person wouldn't know. And how many friends, Brenda, do you have that they will say, no, I don't need a therapist, while from their phone call and their voice, you are able to tell that they are not okay when they don't know. And then the other part is that so many people now wear Oura rings, Fitbits,
Yeah.
Apple Watches, Whoops, Garmin, etc. But how can we move from just tracking to actually aggregating all this information and all those apps and all those wearables to provide information for Brenda, for Imen, for Alexa, for whoever based on that? So no recommendation will look like the other person, and it takes and honors those personal and unique experiences of these women, and they could also use that data and this information with their doctors when they go back and see them, to be able to see how they are either exercising regularly or sleeping regularly or not, and where do they really need the help.
I saw that MIT and Stanford are doing research studies that do show, as you just mentioned, but vocal biomarkers can predict depression, stress, neurological decline. And as a layperson, we don't know that. And as you just said, so many of us are like, no, I don't need a therapist. I just need to meditate, or I just need to do this, or whatever. Health choices. I'm just going to have a glass of wine, whatever it is. And trust me, I can be guilty of that as well. But the signals in our voice, the intonation, the cadence, the hesitation, it shows so much. And we don't even think about that. So, as you say, insights come from how something is said versus what is being said. I think it is just fascinating. And the times that I've used Prickly Pear, it feels like a totally different user experience because I'm speaking into it. It's not that I'm typing, or I'm not even just selecting buttons, but I'm being heard in a different way, which is really quite interesting. How do you see Prickly Pear integrating with all of the other wearable data, and how do you plan to partner to have physicians and practitioners leverage all of this data to create personalized health plans for people? Is that up to the individual, or do you have bigger plans for Prickly Pear when it comes to that?
Right now, we already integrate with those wearables, the Apple Watch, the Aura, Garmin, Whoop, the different apps that different women use to track their cycles, even things like tracking nutrition. We have already those integration. It was something that was so meaningful for us to start from the beginning as a company that runs on a philosophy of the 6 pillars of brain health. And then we launched a couple of months ago something we call a therapist champion program. And that was from a very special place in my heart that we spoke about mental health. And those therapists, they see so many women in their 30s and in their 40s, because these women, they feel depression, they feel anxious more than usual. And while they don't know, that is because of those hormonal fluctuations, because of that lack of sleep that is disturbed by those fluctuating hormones, they go to their therapist. Also, at that time, usually they are at the peak of their careers. They have families that they're navigating. They're probably caregiving for an older parent. So there is like so much to it. So those therapists, and usually for people who have done mental health, they would know that the therapist will actually ask, as a good practice, to journal thoughts, to journal how many times you exercise, or intrusive thoughts, or whatever that person is going through. So
Right.
it was already something that people were asking for. Is there a way that I could voice journal or write a voice note? And you see so many people now use that to text when they're in their cars or
Yeah.
whatever. So the therapists love using Prickly Pear in between sessions, because you don't have to come back and try to re-aggregate all the thoughts of how long you didn't see your therapist if you see them bi-weekly or monthly or whatever that is. But now there is longitudinal data on that, and you could actually show progress and have more meaningful conversations, that very similar to my previous startups and the whole point of why we automated the data collection so people don't have to report subjectively to their doctor, and we could actually spend more time to refine those interventions and understand what work and what doesn't work rather than data collecting and relying on the memory of the patients. That you even know that when people are going through a lot of stress or depression or anxiety, they tend to be forgetful and they miss very important pieces. So that is a very important piece that we do. We also work with nurse practitioners and different telehealth providers as well, because you can imagine they also have health coaches.
Yeah.
And for health coaches who will need to make sure that they are doing their job right, they also need to be able to have notes on different aspects, and that is helpful for them to be able to do that.
It's pretty amazing when you are speaking to this practitioners, even therapists, and ourselves as we're going to see our doctors. We are short on time. And so we're thinking about the end of the appointment before we're even getting there because we've got kids to pick up, dinner to make, all of the things. And so a tool like this, your therapist companion in your pocket every single day, that adds so much value to your experience as a patient too. And to be able to bring all of that information to your doctor, but then work in collaboration with your care providers, I just could see huge potential for how highly impactful this approach, this voice AI and human-centered AI can be, and how it can really look when we do design with the patients in mind and how to improve healthcare for women.
Exactly. Because when we spoke to women, one of the most important things for them was that they don't feel undignified. And so many women, they would get stuck in front of their phone or their computer and have to call their son or their daughter, teenagers, to say, how can I do this? Or their husband, who usually would be more techie, and say, how can I fix this? So the idea was there's a philosophy of what we call joy by design. So every experience, every screen that you go through is uplifting and honoring those experiences of women navigating those diverse life experiences with authenticity, empowerment, and joy, and that it was so easy to use that they don't have to call anybody to check into their very sensitive information. So that was a goal that I'm so happy that so many women report that it's really easy to use, and we were able to nail that.
I love it. And on your signature, you have a headline: I design user centric products that empower humans to lead happier, healthier lives. And we all could use more of that. I was talking to one of my bosses, and it's like, why isn't the Zoom meeting just getting added to my computer invite? Like, what's happening here? Sometimes tech can be so limiting, and then doctor's visits, bills, all of the things. It's just like layered on. And then when you do have mental health issue, grief, or overwhelm, anxiety, whatever it might be that's going on for you, all that shit is too much. You want to make
When
it
you
simple.
didn't sleep well, when you kept waking up, it won't make sense. Then we have so many women, they cannot sleep well. Then in the morning, they are short-tempered with their kids, with their partners in the office. They know it's not them. It's something that is going on. And I think empathy is really important
And I love that.
for this to be done properly.
Yes. And building a startup is an extreme sport. It is a marathon every single day. And with yourself being intentional, having that empathy, it has to be a little bit influenced by your own experience with grief and having lost your mom. And then also that realization of just her own probably mental health was severely impacted. And she didn't know it. She didn't have an opportunity to know it.
Yeah, definitely. Growing up, and of course, as I'm a kid, that my mom in her 40s. So literally, I am the kid that was raised through my mom's menopause. So there are a couple of things there. I always thought that my mom's sleep is very, very light, like she could wake up with anything. Now it makes more sense. Why? I thought it was a trait of character, but apparently it's for a reason. Yeah, so many things start to make sense. And also why for a household that her and my dad eat the same thing, because there was a lot of cooking at home, and we're Mediterranean, so there's a lot of that family aspect on the same household, same socioeconomic factors,
Right.
same environment, maybe not same lifestyle exactly, but still, how could they be very different on the outcomes of healthcare? Now everything makes sense for me, at least.
And I love that you're bringing it to other people because knowledge is power. And as you shared, genetics are the pistol, your choices and lifestyle habits are the trigger. And I've not heard that statement. And it hit me like a load of bricks because it is true. You don't have to be what happened to your parents.
Yeah.
It's up to you to make these choices. And does that mean you're going to pick up the phone and make the appointment to talk to your therapist? Or are you going to pick up the phone and call your girlfriends and have too much wine to drink, which both play a role. They both are important.
Yeah, and particularly in women's health. Actually, you say that, but the concept tend and befriend. There is a lot of societal and mental health research that was done on it, and particularly your girlfriends, when you call them, there is physiological changes that happen to appease your cortisol. It is something we all thought that women just do that, but they do that because it's the best thing for their physiology. Well, of course, we're not talking about like extreme venting, but like there is a healthy amount of that. And that's why we encourage women friendship, and also not just like the same age. Actually, there is so much research that shows the importance of intergenerational relationship and having friends who are not your age, so younger or older. And what does that mean for the female brain? And I love that piece because in the end, for me, what really sparked this was when I used to see these old women in memory cares. For me, it was thinking about societal structure as somebody who grew up not in the US and understanding the role of grandmothers in society and how they shape the relationship in the family, and how in different cultures like Asians and Japanese, whatever, they perceive women who reach menopause as wise, and those aunts and the women, the leaders of the family that people go to take advice from them, or when there's a newborn, they will tell them what to do. And to see them like taken a place in memory care. They're no longer part of that household. They're no longer part of those created memories because they're losing memory, was a whole point for me to stand still, observe, and understand that that cannot be the case. And definitely there should be something to lower the 70% of that representation. And this, not even talking about the diverse experiences of women of color, of epigenetics roles, of so many other parts. But at least we start somewhere.
And it's powerful. It's incredibly powerful. Hi, ladies. Thanks for listening to Redefine Her. I wanted to share something with you about In Women's Health. If you're building, investing in, or working in women's health and want to lead, then the In Women's Health Mini MBA was built just for you. This 6-week high-impact program gives you a behind-the-scenes understanding of how the industry works. From payers and reimbursement to policy, marketing, regulation, and more, you'll learn directly from industry leaders at companies like Kindbody, Genev, Portfolia, and many more. Whether you're pivoting into women's health or scaling a company within it, this MBA-style experience helps you gain clarity, sharpen your strategy, and connect with a powerful network of operators, clinicians, and investors. Better yet, I've got an affiliate code for you. Visit inwomenshealth.com and use Brenda Armstrong 100 to save $100 and reserve your seat for their next program. What do you feel like has been the hardest part about getting people to take women's brain health seriously, from investors to clinicians? Or do you feel like you've tapped into a niche group who are really behind the idea and behind not just Prickly Pear, but really supporting women's health, women's brain health? Do you feel like you've tapped into the right network and it has been not as challenging? Because you're in tech, mostly male-dominated field. You're a female founder, founding multiple companies at this point, and fundraising is challenging. What has been the hardest part of this journey for you?
The whole journey is really hard. To wake up, to decide that you wanted to do it again, to look around you and not find that that was done before and have the passion, the faith, and the grit and the perseverance to continue, it it always has to be a way bigger reason than you. It's
Yeah.
absolutely also a way bigger reason than financial, because yes, while all founders want to IPO or sell their companies, create generational wealth or whatever that is, there are so many ways to make money. This is one of the hardest part of them. So I think one of the most important things is, and at least for me, is building trusting relationships. And by that, understanding that not all money is equal, and that when you are going to take money from investors, you have to bet them as much as they bet you. And you have to be able to be comfortable to pass on some and choose who are going to be part of that. There is actually a statistic that the average length of marriage in the US is 7 years. And then the average investor relationship is 10 years.
Oh.
So, like, there is always a saying, choose your investors as you're choosing your partners, because they're going to be for a big part of
Of your
this.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So for me, that was amazing. I'm so clear about that it happens that I attract the right people. My
Yeah.
mentors come from integrated practices, mental health, a psychiatrist, psychologist, lifestyle medicine, neuro-oncologist, people who are super passionate about cognitive health, ex-founders of companies in speech tech, consumer advisors. I think it's really fascinating the amount of people that you could rally around you even before starting to hire the advisors, the investors, the
Yeah.
mentors. Those are the ones that you surround yourself with, that they will open the door for you again, because they've done it themselves, because they still want to give more. So that was really, really helpful. And then there is a timing element. I think that finally these days we hear lots of people talk about brain health. Maybe not women's brain health, that's we are
Right.
talking about that. But there are so
Getting there. We're getting there.
so much conversations happening, and a shift from mental illness to brain health, because for so far we've been talking about a lot of mental illness, but yes, depression, anxiety, substance use disorder that so many fall into in midlife when they are not able to sleep. It's so many of those patterns that actually, if we think of maintaining brain health and avoidance of risky substance, and what does that mean to the holistic body and brain, knowing that the brain is the command center of the full thing, it becomes a
Right.
very different conversation. So that's where we've been lucky to see this happening, and of course feels like we've been able to back it by numbers. I think the most hard and the most shocking for me, that every time I tell people 70% of the Alzheimer population are women, people find it a new information, and I'm like, if it's such a shock, why is nobody talking about this? So yeah, I think we have to be loud about it, because so many people still don't know.
And I know as a product leader, you've said you can't be everything to everyone, but oh my goodness, I think there is a huge window of opportunity for youth as well, because the choices that they're making, which we've done as a culture and a society, and a lot of the big tech companies, we're just on phones all the time. And adults are setting this example. But I think that it is contributing to some mental health challenges in our young population too. So I don't know, Imen, you might have to open up your window from brain health in midlife.
Promise it's coming, because right now we see a lot of early 30s and late
Yes,
20s already who are using the app, and those their motivation is because those are seeing their mothers now in postmenopause, because that generation didn't realize until they were postmenopausal, added the frustration that they missed the window of opportunity of any
Yeah.
hormones, that yes, we still have to weigh the risk and the opportunity even then, but there is like a lot of frustration of that generation that we see millennials are really trying to not have that. And also
Yeah.
Gen Z, I think there is a huge opportunity with girls in college. There is so much mental pressure and so much habits that form during that time, and identity and personality and stress and anxiety and society and what is demanding, and all of that in our 20s, we all felt like we are rushing against the clock. We have to have a job. We have to find a partner. We have to travel. We have to do
all
so
the
many
things.
things.
All the
Yes.
Joneses. Right.
So there is definitely a huge opportunity there, but we will treat them segment by segment for sure.
Amazing. I love that. If you were to share a key piece of advice with other women who might be working in women's health or in brain health specifically, maybe not specifically for women, but what would you say to other founders out there who might have a great idea or who have started a new business but are struggling with the challenge? What would you say to them coming from your own journey and your own experience?
I say it will feel more than 90% of the time impossible, but you have to trust that it is the right thing to do. There is so much that needs to be done. And now we see so many rising stars in women's health. And that is because I think it's normal. Women are so done taking a back seat of their own health, seeing other people who don't even understand the problem, who don't even know what perimenopause means or simple women's biology creating it. And I think that it is time for them to step ahead and share their perspective. When the time is right, I think we will be able to see a lot of merger and acquisition and things like that. We already are seeing more IPOs than usual in that industry. We already know that women, with the money they get, they reach more profits. Their margins are phenomenal. They're more intentional about hiring and how they build their teams. They're more resilient. And trust me, this is like nothing against men. I have a brother. I'm married. I'm my father's daughter. Like,
most definitely. But it's just needs to be equitable. We are half the population.
and they are the subject matter expert of it. So it is super important to have people who are leading this be the subject matter. And most of the time, these women are solving for something that's coming from experience. So their own experience, their mother's experience, their sister's experience. None of these are to be ignored or dismissed. All those experiences would matter. Yes, it's still 99% chance of failing, but that is not a reason to step down, particularly if you feel it. Lean on your intuition, because I think that is also a female superpower. Sometimes when it's just data, you could find that you are not able to make a decision, and there are two decisions that are equally good decisions or equally bad, and there is always a different way of how we think. Don't ever dismiss it. It's a superpower.
Absolutely. They say our intuition or our gut, if you will, is like a second brain, and we push it down too often. I think that is great advice. Listen to your intuition. Our last guest left us with a question for you, and we like to pass the mic forward. So if we're looking at women's health, there's so much opportunity: cardiovascular, aging, longevity, and the list goes on and on. Where do you think technology is going to make the most impact next?
Yeah, well, I'm biased, so I'm super excited about voice tech.
It's pretty phenomenal.
I'm super excited about voice tech because, like, if you remember, before we had phones that had a keyboard, and then we shifted to a full glass where we were tapping, and then now how Apple released the liquid glass. Liquid glass is a new feature. Actually, Prickly Pear is designed from day one to adopt the liquid glass, and that basically, if you will see the menu on the nav bar or whatever, it's not hard contrast of colors. You could actually see through it and the way how things move. And guess what? Those are things that are preparing us for mixed reality. So now when you are wearing glasses, you could see things. And I think that is also where Prickly Pear will be. You will be wearing glasses and you will be able to talk to it, not typing like it's 2010. You're able to talk to it, and it's part of the experience, and it detects things and it has connected things to your wearables. And Prickly Pear is not there to replace wearables. It's there to work with them in a way that feels natural to the user. So we are shifting from buttons and typing to speaking and gauging emotions and understanding a holistic perspective on that particular human's behavior.
I love it, Imen. And overall, we are just tapping the surface of how midlife isn't a breakdown, but it's a brain shift. And thanks to you and Prickly Pear, we're getting tools that really listen to what's going on and are going to support us improving our health. So I appreciate you and the work you're doing and how you are redefining healthcare for women. And thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Brenda, for the work you do, for amplifying those voices. And I cannot wait to see the episodes.
Me too. Where can people find you? Where can they download your app and start voice texting their feelings and their day-to-day, their experiences?
Yes, we are live on the App Store. There is a free version currently that you could actually go ahead and download it and use it. We're launching the premium version that actually will have more Prickly Pear intelligence and it will really feel like a coach in your pocket. We are launching that next week as a celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month as well as Menopause Awareness Month. As we discussed, there will be some free offerings. Stay tuned. Follow us on social media. Our website is pricklypear.io. And you can reach out to us anytime.
Amazing. I have so enjoyed this conversation. And thank you again, Imen.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Redefine Her, where we explore the bold voices, transformative ideas, and untold stories reshaping the future of women's health, wellness, and the technology that makes it all happen. I'm your host, Brenda Armstrong. Redefine Her is produced by Taryn Long and proudly sponsored by CH2 Solutions, powering innovation with purpose. If today's conversation moved you, challenged you, or sparked a new idea, we'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep redefining what's possible.